Hi, I am Mary Mazur. This is Change Your Funk to Fun. Welcome today. Here we will be talking about transforming humiliation and helplessness to know you are honored, revered, loved, and whole. I have a wonderful guest that's coming on our show here, Lisa Drewer, and she is a CEO and a co-founder of RLD Group, a WBENC certified WBE WSCB leadership consulting firm, specializing in co-creating organizational level leadership development programs that help leaders in tech thrive at work in their lives. Lisa spent 20 years in Silicon Valley as a top level executive inside Fortune 500 tech companies. Now she leverages her corporate experience and gift of facilitation and leadership development to help organizations to put the heart of the human back in tech. Ooh, and create the firm leaders of tomorrow. So Lisa's insights has been featured on leading NBC, CBS, ABC, The Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Entrepreneur, FeedSpot, and more. Lisa hosts Control Alt Delete with Lisa Drewer podcast of FeedSpot Top 10 Podcasts in Technical Leadership. Lisa is actively raising awareness for a disease she lives with called lipedema, a condition affecting as many as 1 in 11 women. Lisa lives in Portland, Oregon, and loves exploring with her co-founder and husband, Randy, their daughter, Emily, and their Karapu, Yogi. So we welcome Lisa to the show. Hello, Lisa.
Hello, Mary. Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Oh my goodness, what a joy, what a joy. Yes, yeah, and we are going to be talking about a bit of a touchy subject. I think one that's, tough for a lot of us, humiliation and helplessness. And the gift that we're going to bring today for anyone who's listening today, for us and for you and I can share, is really be okay with talking about, difficult things, you know, challenging things, and really, really harsh, deep, yucky things, basically. We'll just say that. Okay. Because we all have been through humiliation and helplessness in our lives. And the more we can actually recognize it and actually admit it, that's actually where the healing can happen. So, yeah, I'd love for us for sure too. We can first share like how did we get to know each other? If you want, you can share how you found out about me or I found out about you.
Yeah,
We can
I'd be
start
happy
that.
to.
Okay, thank you.
I want to say, like, who says yes to a topic on this? Who says yes? Let's talk about humiliation. I guess I do, right? Because I know
Yeah.
the power of PSYCH-K and I know the power of working with you. So I'm here because you've helped me and I want to share that. So, how did we meet? I was in a mastermind group for facilitation, and we had a guest mentor come in. His name is Bruce Lipton. You may have heard of him. Of course, the world has heard of Bruce Lipton. And I had the honor of asking him a question because I was dealing with this disease, lipedema, and I was really trying to understand how I can work with my body. And he only had a few minutes, so we didn't go too deep. But what I shared with him, he said, "You need to look at PSYCH-K, Lisa. Go look at PSYCH-K." So I did. And how things work, I didn't do anything with it. I looked at it and I was just a little overwhelmed and didn't know who to pick or where to start. But one of my colleagues who was in that session heard me talk about it and had started working with you, Mary. And I got a private message from her and said, "Hey, I know you asked Bruce this question. You're probably looking at PSYCH-K. I found the most amazing practitioner and I'd love to make an introduction to Mary if you're open." And I just followed that knowing. I had a knowing. I was like, that's it. Thank you, universe, for other people helping me because I was overwhelmed. And so I reached out and yeah, the magic has been happening ever since.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yay. Yes, 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 yes. Whew, all right. So, if we're good with sharing, and I love that you're willing to say yes to talk about this topic about humiliation and helplessness. So, are you okay to share a bit about maybe your experience with that, like what you might have had as a child, or even during your life, or even just touching parts, or what you've experienced for others? 'Cause I know you've helped a lot of people with leadership and with helping them. Yeah, with
Yeah.
you can tell they are dealing with that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to share my own story because I feel like that's mine to own, where other people's stories, not so much. So I'll start there and we'll just see where it goes.
Okay.
I thought about this topic a lot because I've spent my lifetime avoiding at all costs asking for help.
Ooh.
And I think that the not wanting to feel helplessness is such a driver for me that it's caused me to overgive, over, stay busy, not ask for help, uh, damage relationships in ways where people did want to help. Much like, this person reached out to me and say, "Hey, go talk to Mary." Like, what a gift! But I didn't say, "Hey, can someone tell me who to talk to?" I just thought I'll figure it out later. So it's been a lifetime of not wanting to ask for help and feeling like it didn't feel safe to ask for help because I didn't want to be disappointed or let down, and many times being seen as needy or needing, period, right? But that's not the lived experience. We need each other. I mean, the whole goal of this journey, right, is to experience receiving and giving. So it's been a journey.
Yeah, beautiful. And thank you for that. And I will have to say that I also here, I'm going to clear up my screen a little bit. My screen is getting funky. There we go. We'll see if it gets better. There we go. A little better. Yeah, and I'm right there with you. I was taught the same way that kid, you go, and my dad was a Marine, so he was, Lieutenant Colonel in the Marine Corps. So it was like, kid, you go figure it out. And I'm one of 12 kids, so there's a huge family here. I'm number 11 out of 12. So also with that too, my mom's hands were full, so we literally were taught to go figure things out on your own. And I think I would have to say that from what I have experienced through this and understood is that this is just the patriarchal overlay that the 20th century had and that we all got imprinted with. And that's the gift of what Bruce Lipton teaches and talks about, is because of the beliefs that we create our first 7 years of life, right? Yeah. And our
Yeah.
parents did what they could. They did it because they knew, because what they got with the Depression age and even harsher times,
Mhm.
that was the survival coping skill, was that you have to go figure it out yourself, right? And it was not safe to show that you had needs at the time. It really wasn't. We did have to figure it out on ourselves, and we did right, punch through and do it. But then, like you said, what happens is what happens to us? Well, we end up with like diseases or stress issues or very challenging issues will start to happen to us
Mhm.
because we're way out of balance.
Mhm.
And that's a big one to bring up. And that's what I've worked with my own self. I use PSYCH-K for my own self too, is that I worked with that recently with myself too, that it's okay for me to have needs. It's okay for me to ask for help. Since I also did have a hard time with that too. And like you say, that fear of being helpless, that it's really more of a fear of it than
Mhm.
anything. And then because we have felt helpless before, but actually when you do feel helpless or even humiliated, when you hit the bottom, I would call it hit the bottom, right? Then you have nowhere else to go but up. So that's the gift, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, then when you are helpless or you do at that point, then you do have to ask for help. You actually do have to begin to come on back in, right? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's
yeah.
interesting. In my childhood, my parents divorced when I was 4. I had a 2-year-old sister at the time, and my dad had come back from the Vietnam War, and it didn't work. You know what I mean? Like, life didn't work for them. And what happened was, being raised by a single mom who was, you know, scared and feeling helpless. I could feel that energy in the household, and I was like, I don't like this feeling. And then over time, her coping mechanism, like many single moms back then, was alcohol. And I was like, I don't want that either. And then I had a younger sister, and I was like, she looks so helpless. I don't want to feel like she does. So I think my lens through just the system that I was a part of, my mom was the best mom she could be. My dad was the best dad he could be. My sister was the best sister she could be. And yet I was picking up energetically on what I perceived as, helpless and weak. And I was like, I don't want this. I don't feel safe. I didn't feel safe to feel like I needed help. And so I would say, those first 7 years were formative, to your point of just, nope, got to figure it out, suck it up, figure it out, go the path and do the work. Don't ask, just do it.
Right. Wow. And I didn't even realize that with your childhood, because for myself, my dad being a Marine too in the military, he came back from Vietnam also, and it literally rocked our world at our house too. My dad started drinking, so he used the alcohol too, and that was his coping skill to get numb, to get away from that. Probably the helplessness he probably even felt within himself. Well, a lot of it too, he couldn't control his anger. He couldn't control when he would just have reactions just because of what he just dealt with for a year over in Vietnam. And Yeah, so you're right. And as little children, we take everything personal and we absorb it all. We really do. Our first 2 years completely. And then 2 to 7, we use more of imagination. So we're in more of everything is very literal and real. So whatever we do see, we take very literal and real. So, like you said, with the helplessness, yeah, I probably saw how my mom was a bit helpless, where with my dad would just be so gone with all the alcohol, going in, or even for us, right, where we would get spanked, or things would
Yep.
happen that were very unpredictable. We never knew what was going to happen. It was so unpredictable. And so that was feeling helpless. That was a terrible, yucky feeling too.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize we had this in common, but that's very similar in the sense of just the unpredictability and also seeing so much despair and pain in my parents and just thinking as a kid, it's my fault. I must have done that. So, don't let
Right.
anyone in, don't ask for help. That was a whole first, and I went the first to go to college. No one showed me how. I didn't get married until I was 37 because I didn't want what I had seen. I didn't have my child until I was 43, right? Like I was a long, late bloomer
Yeah.
because that all required, letting go of what was humiliation in many ways and also the helplessness fears that I was hanging on to.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So huge. And interesting. My parents actually stayed married. They were married for, I think, 64 years. But what they did is they just went numb. They went numb. So and so what I learned is, so that whether parents stay together or go apart, we all get effects from all of that, which is interesting. So they did the best they could because they were very dutiful with the religion that they were in and raised in and doing. But yet they used the coping skills. Like my mom was probably escape, where she just would just she acted like she used the gift of denial. She acted like everything was okay. So if you asked her, oh, everything's just fine, everything's just great, like, oh, we live in a perfect world. Like, oh, it's fine.
Yep.
Yeah, 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 no, and that is tough too. So even a bit of the helplessness, we don't even know what's true, because here, when your mom is acting like everything is just great, and I get it that she wanted to bring the positive energy, which was helpful, and humor. She did a great job with humor, um, and she didn't know what else to do. She just had to cope with her situation, and for her, she felt that she had to. Oh, I'm getting blurry again. Hold on one second. Ooh, let's see if this comes back. Funny, it must be our energy.
Right. Our
Our
energy's off the
energy is
charts.
getting chaos right here. I'm gonna see if this will focus. My friend taught me this, where you put your hand in front of the camera and then see if it focuses there. That's better. Okay, good. See, we're learning patience. That's nice. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and what we're offering here is for others that are listening too, is to give yourself time to reflect. Because that was actually one of the biggest gifts that happened to me when I learned Psych-K. At the time, I was married, and my husband at the time was diagnosed with leukemia, so he got really sick, and I wanted to help him because I was the helper. I was trying to help, so none of us would be helpless. So I helped everybody else not be helpless, let alone my own self, right? And then, but with that, yeah, we. Oh, wow. A new thought wants to come in. It's okay. we're bringing all kinds of energy. Oh, is that I had no time to reflect. Okay. And so what we're offering, one of the biggest things anyone can ever give themselves, is give themselves a pause. Like you talked about, you got really busy. You had to do everything yourself. I did the exact same thing. I was pretty much like an overworker and an overhelper and
Mm-hmm.
overgiving. And then and a lot of it was based on those shame dense energies that we had within us of the humiliation experiences that we had as children and helplessness experiences. So how amazing that it's actually here for us is that let's use what we learn from here, because everything that we experience is actually here for us. And once we can turn it for the good, that's what we're going to start help climbing back up to, right back to, really, to our wholeness. That's actually the key, which is really neat. I think if people can really step back and be truly honest, that's what I had to do. So I had to take off that coping skill of denial that I learned from my mom. And it was a coping skill, and I appreciated it. But once I did, it was almost overwhelming. I actually felt helpless when I did that, because I was like, what? Because you can actually feel like okay, so what is true? What really did happen? It can feel like a breakdown, but it actually then allows you to blossom and open up again. So, and definitely with emotion. So, yeah, a lot of crying that I did, and I wasn't allowed to cry growing up. So it's like, woo, where's all this tears coming from, right? To really realize. And then obviously when we're going to move through the journey with forgiveness and letting go, and like you say, you have come to the realization, so have I, that our parents did the best they could. That's all they could do. That's all anyone can ever do, because it's based on the beliefs that they have that's running their lives, and what they're choosing at that moment, right? Yeah. And for us, what was the big transformation for you? When did you start noticing, yeah, that maybe I'm overgiving too much, or running away from helplessness, or things like that?
It's when I was reflecting on these questions, I'm like, this is a good book someday. Like, I'm slow, Mary. I didn't get it for a long time. I would say that one of the biggest compelling events for me was when I thought I was having a heart attack, and I was working late. It was around 7 o'clock at night, and I had this radiating pain up my arm.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, this doesn't feel right. And I started Googling heart attack symptoms for women. And I thought, if you're Googling the symptom, you should probably just go to the emergency room. So I took my laptop and I got up to go to the emergency room, and a colleague went with me because she says, you can't drive if you think that's what's happening. But I brought my
Right.
laptop. And the point of this is this: brought my laptop, got to the emergency room, no heart attack. I was in there for like 5 hours, finished the presentation, texted it to my boss. I went to work the next day. And my
Wow.
husband pulled me aside and was like, yeah, we're not doing this anymore. This is not okay. So I went to my follow-up meeting, and long story short, the doctor said I had Silicon Valley-itis. And that was his code word for burnout.
Mm-hmm.
And the first real aha, like wake up moment was, from an overgiving standpoint, was how much I was pouring into my career and my job, and this heightened sense of responsibility that was misplaced, and the power I was giving away with not having boundaries around time off or project work. And I ended up taking a 3-month medical leave, and I never cried more in my life. I never slept more in my life. And I came on the other side of that, not humiliated. I felt broken. I felt embarrassed, like I wasn't strong enough. How could I end up having to take a medical leave for stress?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first, and I was 40, I don't think I was like 45. That's what I'm saying. It took a long road, right? It took a long road. So yeah, that was
Well,
the
you're
first
a
time.
mom too, so you're doing both. You're
Yeah.
juggling both. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my big, like, what is happening?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for that. And that's what will happen if you aren't able to be proactive in the things that are happening with us. Then usually it's a catastrophe. Usually, like either a health issue that big comes up, right? Which for you, even just your heart, the pain in your heart that you had to
Yeah.
wake you up. Yeah, and that's a huge one, because actually your body will let you know too. And I'm going to be creating a course on that, of helping to really listen to your body and get
Mhm.
in your body and be aware of it. So the gift with PSYCH-K was just so beautiful, because it helps us become proactive. It helps us address, okay, so what is bothering you, frustrating you, limiting you, right? Where are you feeling either helpless or humiliated, and a lot of it, we do it with our own selves. We actually humiliate our own selves. And that's that, yeah, right, that criticalness, that judgment of, who the heck do you think you are? And the thoughts that will come in, oh, you're such an idiot, or what the heck, who the heck do you
Yeah.
think you are? Is there something wrong with you? Like, those are the things that my internal system would talk to me as. It was that perfectionist, and that, get out there and grit it out, and just be really hard on yourself. That's how you're supposed to be with yourself. Is that really?
Uh, yes.
Oh my
Preach it, sister. Because yes, that's what I was doing too. And my inner dialogue, especially around that burnout phase, was I had bronchitis, and I had asked my doctor for a different antibiotic because I was so sick of coughing. And
God.
what I know now about coughing and like your throat and like what this all mean, I'm like, oh man, was I talking? I knew, but I didn't know. Like, so yeah,
Yeah.
I've learned a lot in the journey, and I am so grateful for just being able to share this, because I'm hoping somebody doesn't have to be in the emergency room,
Mhm.
right? They can catch it earlier, because really I had an allergic reaction to the antibiotics. That's what happened. That's
Oh,
what the
wow.
pain was. It was a allergic reaction to the antibiotics that I begged for, right? So
Mhm.
yeah.
Wow.
Had I
Wow.
listened to
Well,
the bronchitis and slept, I like taken the time, I wouldn't have gotten where I got, but I had to go there. It was my journey, right? So here we are.
yeah, exactly. Hey, right. And if it woke you up enough, that's the gift. No matter what happens to you, it is going to wake you up. It is going to give you opportunities. It's definitely going to
Yeah,
bring that to you.
yeah,
The
for
gift
sure.
comes, Yeah, the gift comes in is when you can start addressing it ahead of time. And that's what I'm here to help offer for people, that you don't have to wait till catastrophes happen anymore. You don't, unless you want that in your life, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
How
Well, I think
about
that's why when I asked Bruce Lipton, I was like, "Oh, wait, there's a path. I don't want to do what I did before. How
Mhm.
fast can I like if he's saying PSYCH-K is going to help the belief system and help me work with my body to understand it better, how fast can I do that? Because I already know the other path. Now
Right.
I want an easier, even though it doesn't feel easy sometimes, right? But I wanted
Yeah.
an easy path.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So, what have you noticed the changes since we've been working together, as far as what you've done with yourself? Oh, I know, right?
I know, right? Like, how much time do we have? So, what I really have noticed is my how quickly I can feel better.
Mm.
And we'll talk about something that's happening. First of all, I'm much more in tune with my body now, so I bring stuff to you. Go, hey, it hurts here. This is trying to say something. Let's go there.
Yes.
I just feel like every time we meet, it is mind blowing to me how fast I feel whatever that thing is being resolved.
Mhm.
Right, and a lot of it, I have an incurable disease. I'm giving you the air quotes, right? And lipedema is painful and hard. And
Mm.
yet I can tell when we're working together, what's happening is I'm befriending my body and becoming more whole. And I am moving better and my mindset is better and I'm more hopeful and I'm not festering with all those thoughts inside my head anymore because we're processing them and calibrating them to my highest and best good. And I'm beyond grateful, Mary.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, you brought it right to the point here, right? Yeah, exactly. And it's for whoever's ready. That's the key. And you were ready. And thank goodness, like you said, you asked Bruce Lipton that question, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even anyone listening to this talk now too, we get free will choice. We get free will choice on our readiness, because a lot of us will, based on the helplessness that we've experienced, or even humiliation, some of us don't think we're worthy enough, or don't think we're capable enough to actually make these changes. Some people can get really into stuck into ruts, and these are actually beliefs that we created our first 7 years of life. Well, I can't change anything. No, but this is just how it is. And people will even stay in familiar land, even if it's miserable, because it's familiar, because
Mm-hmm.
they know it, and they feel safer in familiar land, even in the discomfort or suffering, than if they can leap out, because the leaping out seems really scary for some people. Okay.
Yeah, I've had
And
that too. That's true for me at times, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then people have leaped out when it's been so horrible that they have to leap out, right? So that's kind of like yeah. Then
Wait,
they're kind of
here's
forced
a
to
tip. Leap sooner.
yeah. Then this is what the message is all about. Exactly.
Mhm.
And it's okay, because your subconscious is there to protect you. That's the part that writes everything. It writes everything of every experience we've ever had. And it also writes all of our interpretations. So we basically put these meaning glasses on us. Okay. That's what we do here. We create meaning to everything here. And then a lot of times it will be very distorted, especially the first 7 years of life, because we're so personal and we take everything so personally that many of us, including my own self, um, embodied the beliefs that there's something wrong with me, or I'm doing something wrong, or it's not good enough. Those pieces of those aspects, then we do overgive, and we over work, and we over help. And so if
Yes.
anyone has any of these little personalities in them, okay, so they got the same little beliefs we got.
Mhm.
The gift is that you can change them, and that's the big life-saving change of all of this, because we were taught that we couldn't do that. We were taught that we know, we're just small, or we're just these human beings here. No, actually we're not. We're actually divine beings. That's the big thing that I love to help people wake up to, is once you can connect into your I am presence of who you are, that you are an actually a divinity consciousness here in your own unique way, and that we are extremely powerful beings. Because actually, any negative thing that we create in our lives, we created those based on the beliefs we had. Yes, we did. Believe it or not, you were a part of it, or each one of us was a part of it, right? That each one of us have done that. The gift is if you did create that, you can actually change it. So, like, I love my new mantra now is I help people change shit into holy shit.
Oh my God,
because
I love that so much.
because we
You
grow.
have helped me take shit into holy shit. That's true.
Right,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. And the key
Yeah.
is are we willing to look at the shit? I mean, a lot of people don't like to look at it. I didn't either. I tucked it away. I
Mhm.
did not want to ever get it out. Heck no, it smelled bad. It was yucky. I'm like, oh no, we are not touching that stuff. But that's actually where the sweet spot is. It actually is the fertilizer. That's what Mother Earth does with her fertilizer. She takes the manure and uses it as fertilizer for massive rapid growth. That's how gardens grow. That's how farms work beautifully by the drunge, the really, really good yucky stuff.
Yeah. Well, hey, I got plenty of fertilizer. I got you there, right?
There you
Yeah.
go. And isn't that
Yeah.
awesome? That's
Yeah.
the gift. So all of us
Mhm.
do. We sure do. Heck yeah. So
Mhm.
what I love to do, this is changing your funk to fun. It actually is just all funk. It's all funk. All this stuff, you can call it shit, you can call it funk, you can call it yuckiness, you can call it if people get really emotional, they're really going to drop into that shame, the guilt, the worry, the fears, the tight, contracted, really, really painful suffering experiences.
Yeah.
And at any moment we can wake up. At any moment we can make a new decision. And all it takes is the gateway of courage. Courage is the gateway. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely feel you. And I really love Funk to Fun so much. I mean, part of my journey and all of this is like, how might I, if fun isn't involved, I don't want to do it. And I used to think like healing myself wouldn't be fun, but I delight when I look at it through the lens of curiosity and
Mhm.
reverence with what's going on. I find it to be way more fun and way less funky. And you make it fun. You do. And I mean, this is not easy. I am not here to say this is so easy. It is
Right.
easy. And yet you got to work through the stuff that feels so heavy and even have the courage, like you said, to bring it to the conversation so we can do something about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And the gift is instead of using denial or alcohol or drugs or other
Mhm.
addiction, how about we actually admit it? And once you admit it, now the game is on because now you got to do
Mhm.
something about it. If you actually admit
Yeah.
something, there's going to be something in you that says, well, heck yeah, I think we need to change this. What are some things you have done? Because you had to shift. You had to come to realize what can I do to help myself be healthier and to shift, right, any of that helplessness up out so you can be more whole. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So I would say the first thing is how brilliant is my funk that it got me to the point where I was basically immobile and needed to ask for help. Like I was not able to walk on my own. I needed help grocery shopping. I needed help in daily living, right? So lipedema for me progressed to lymphedema. And without going into too much detail about all of that, it was the progression that got me to feel helplessness on a new level. So
Mm.
to ask my family for support, to ask my clients for understanding, to provide myself the grace and not beat myself up was a big deal. And where I'm at now is recognizing that my body wants to work with me. And if I cut my arm and it wants to heal a scab, and it's gotten to this point to get my attention, what might I do to honor it and support it in the process? So, I've been working with you a lot, Mary, on the beliefs and the mindset and understanding and unpacking what's leading me for this expression in my body right now. So, um,
Mhm.
I'll leave there. You maybe have a specific question, but fundamentally, I am no longer I no longer use a mobility aid. I'm able to walk on my
Mhm.
own.
Mhm.
I'm not able to like walk an airport. I'll ask for help there, but like going to the mall or grocery shopping, I can do that again. And I
Mhm.
do it with joy. And I have so much more appreciation for what had been lost and has been regained.
Oh, yeah, and that's actually one of the biggest gifts, right? Because when you go to those extremes, right, and you're not able to do that. You go to that level, and then now, exactly coming back to where, yes, you can. Walking is a whole nother way for you now, right? And the
Mhm.
appreciation of like moving your body because it can be taken away. I mean, that's the thing. We can have things happen to us where what we think is normal, what we normally do, can in a minute or in a second, whew, done, gone.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the other thing that's happened as I'm reflecting as we're talking is that I'm prioritizing. So when I burnt out and I rebooted, which is why my podcast is called Control Delete with Lisa Dury,
Mhm.
when I rebooted, I really thought I had it all figured out. Like, okay, I
Mm.
got this burnout thing. I know how to help people. And believe me, I help a lot of people every day within our clients with burnout. And yet, this chronic illness or misunderstood disabling condition has opened my eyes and my heart to so much more about what the world is facing that I've been just checking my biases and my thoughts all the time now and being curious instead of thinking I know all the answers. So it's helped me be curious. And the self care that's required to manage this condition has created the space for me to really reflect on all of our sessions, what we're working on, and to like spend time listening to my body and communing with my body while I'm in my, lymphatic pump or in the swimming pool to help my body or getting my manual lymph drainage done. All of those moments, really, we work a lot for me on worthiness, right? And that means I am worthy of feeling good in my body, and my body is worthy of being cared for, is a whole different lens than before, which was just the one aspect of don't work too hard, right? It's like the evolution of undoing the helplessness and the humiliation.
Yes, beautiful. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, so that going into those deeper areas, and then PSYCH-K loves to help people with doing that. Exactly. Self-worth is the foundation, because that is where, with that humiliation, we lose our self-worth. We think there's something wrong with us, or that we did something wrong. And so then we judge ourselves and separate ourselves. It literally is the separation of our true selves, right? So the
Yeah.
gift is when you can reactivate your self-worth, and all it is an activation. It's remembering again. It's like, oh yeah, no, yeah, I am worthy of the best that love and life have to offer, right?
Oh my gosh,
And then
I love that one so much. I am
I
worthy of the
know.
best that love and life have to offer.
Exactly, and disconnecting the unworthy parts. So, and with PSYCH-K, you do both. That way, you disconnect the parts that are doing the opposite, and then put in, literally upgrade your subconscious mind at the new way of you being, which is where our operating system runs. The operating system runs everything. Your body is run by your subconscious mind. Everything it's doing is from all the programs you have that are running at the subconscious level. So exactly, the more we get to keep, diving in, and the gift is that life's going to show us. Life's going to show you and show us what we're supposed to be paying attention to, because everything outside of us is literally just a reflection of our internal beliefs about our own self and our own world. And these are the things that we do have control over. We have power to change these beliefs. We have power to have a new perception, to have a new way of viewing things. And it's all in our readiness, and it's all in the level of your courage and willingness to do it. That's it. To say, yes, I am ready. And you have been, and I know, and you're blossoming so beautifully. And then the gift is you literally get real results. Like your body is going to feel better. You're going to feel better. You're going to be able to do more things that you couldn't do before. And that even with your progression of walking, you'll be amazed in a short period of time how you'll be able to walk more than you ever thought. And where a time you might have thought, man, I don't know if I'll ever be able to walk like this again. And
Mhm.
where people, if you do have those abilities, let yourself know that you can change these things. Your body can change to the highest level we are meant to or supposed to in this lifetime. But at least explore it. Like you say, stay curious, stay in the wonder. There's
Yeah.
infinite
Yeah.
possibilities. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny when I talk about PSYCH-K with friends and family, they kind of look at me like, huh? And I said, no, we're just, like, I listen. All I can tell you is what's working for me. Like, am I having Western medical support? Yes. I have a
Mhm.
doctor's appointments. I get physical therapy, right? And I also know that if we don't work on the thoughts that we have, our cells are listening. So why not do it, fast? Why not take my Funk to Fun with Mary regularly? Because that is it's a core part of my healing, right? It's not just take a pill or go see a doctor. It's do all the work and understand what's feeding the system, which is my body. And so I am nowhere near where I want to be, and I am further from where I was. And so to me, that's hope filled, right? That's
Mhm.
hope filled. And that's why I talk about this publicly, because I know what it's like to have a disease that is misunderstood, misdiagnosed regularly, and takes you 40 years to figure out you have it. That just, there's no reason to do that because you've had 40 years of, funk trying to figure out what's going on in your body. And I don't want that for anyone. So I'm so grateful for what you do.
Oh, thank you. And I'm grateful it came to me, because I know it came to me, right? Exactly. Rob Williams is the originator of PSYCH-K, so it is a conduit. And this is a spiritual practice that came from our spirit team, is the best way to say it. We have a spirit team, we actually do. And many of us aren't even connected with our spirit. And that's okay. That's just where people are in their human life. But that is also a great one to explore too. And it doesn't have to do with religion. Religion's beautiful. And just like you said, the medical profession is beautiful. And PSYCH-K is a beautiful complement to these. It's meant to be a complement. There's multiple tools that we can use. And PSYCH-K just really helps to us exactly to get right to it. How about we get right to it and get right to the roots and get to the source of things? Because if you did create it, the whole question comes in is you can ask yourself, if I did really create this, there's actually even deeper levels, we call them secondary gains, where it actually might be serving you in some way. And those are the biggest ones to actually address. How could it be serving you in some way? Like if the fact that you couldn't walk anymore, maybe it did serve you so that you could literally ask for help. Like it actually let you ask for help again. Like how amazing is that? It actually was serving you in some way.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually was featured. I was giving caregiver tips for this disease, lipedema and lymphedema. And it was about asking for help. And I was like, I'm being featured on a blog to talk about asking for help. How different is my life? Where before that would never have been. I just feel my soul's calling that I'm not saying, yay, I have this disease. What I am saying is, yay, I have tools and resources and agency to be able to shine a light on this so that we can bring the whole teams together, spirit guides and all, Western medicine, family members. How might we connect? It's like bringing the hearts back into tech. It's the same thing. Like, how do we really, truly plug in so that we can upgrade the operating system? And that's why this belief piece to me is, I just think it's a foundation. And I'll pause.
Yeah, no, well, thank you for that. And it actually is for every area, depending on anyone that has any other kind of dis-ease or any you can even call it dis-ease in a relationship or in their finances or in their career choosing. Basically, all it means is that there's a disconnect from the ease. So how about we reconnect?
I see that.
You're going to reconnect again, and it's important you reconnect within your own self. That's the whole part. We fragmented ourselves out. So bring in those pieces where we felt humiliated or felt helpless or felt, oh, I can't ask for anything. Those are the pieces that are screaming at you now, especially if you've gone to the level of where there is actually a dis-ease happening, like in your life or in your body. And
you made me think about something, if I can. So I think it's real important because some of the work I had to do was in relationship with others. And it's not like we brought them to my PSYCH-K visits and sat them here and did this, right? But we were able to work on my beliefs and my energy so that we could free that up and I could have more creativity around me on what to do next and what do I even want? And so, we haven't just worked on my lymphatic system. We have worked on relationships. We've looked at how I structure my business and where I spend my time. We've talked about, how I might honestly even just prioritize my thoughts if there's too many coming at once. Like, you've helped me look at my whole life, not just my body itself, although my body is what brought me to you because of the way what I was experiencing in my body.
I love it. Thank you. Because all of it affects each other. We're all interconnected.
Yeah, sure.
Every piece plays a part, right? Yeah. And isn't that neat? And then, and that's the gift, is whatever was getting your attention. That's the sweet spot. Whatever is getting your attention, that's what your conscious mind is there helping you with, just to recognize, there's something going on here. So let's address this. All it takes is courage. When you have the courage and the willingness to say, all right, we're going to take a look at this. What is this about? You actually have the answers within you. And that's the gift of PSYCH-K, is you actually go within yourself. You actually access those answers. You come up with your new way of how you want things to be instead of that. Isn't that amazing? And then you literally install it at the subconscious level of the mind. Yeah, literally as a new program, just like an app in your phone or an app on your computer, and delete the old apps. How nice is that, right?
Yeah, and honestly, I still am flabbergasted at how fast, for me, I only know my lived experience with you, but how quickly, like when we're done, I try and have the thought again, and I can't have it. Like, it's like, what is this? And how did this happen? And I'll try and go run the tape again, and the tape's not there. And I'm thinking, this is spectacular.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And the gift is because we can. And I know it's people will probably have a hard time even understanding it, and that's okay. Just exactly that. And it is experiencing it. Once you do and you realize, wow, I have a new perception of something that I didn't have before. Your old perception is done now because it was limited. Now you're expanded. So PSYCH-K helps you expand. And when you expand and you're raising your level of vibration, when you raise your level of vibration and you're flowing now more in your love and your peace and your harmony, everything moves in synchronicity and flow instead of the contracted or suffering or hard. So that's the gift PSYCH-K brings. If you'd love to share a little bit about what you offer and then how people can reach you, especially with your professional work, and then also what you do with people with lipedema. Does that sound good?
Oh, thank you, Mary. I just want to say thanks for having me. This has been really fun. So through our RLD group, Rebooting Leadership Drive, if you're a leader and you are trying to figure out how to not burn out and how to thrive at work, if you want to do it with your teams and your organizations, the best way to find us is rldgroupllc.com. And if you are thinking, what's this lipedema stuff? Maybe I have it, or maybe I know someone who has it. The work we do there is through Lipedema Simplified. It's lipedema-simplified.org. And I would say the easiest way for people to see both those sides of me, because I do both, is to find me on LinkedIn. And so it's just Lisa, Duerre, and everything is on LinkedIn and it branches to both sides. So thank you for asking.
Oh, wow. That's so easy. Yeah, absolutely. Because you're here doing a very important work, which I love. And then for myself, if anyone wants to have a private session with me, like you've been doing with me, Lisa, and they can go to my website, igniteandhealyourlife.com. That's igniteandhealyourlife.com. And I also teach workshops. So I am a certified PSYCH-K instructor, and there's about 30 of us across the world. And I do offer online and in-person workshops. So I have an online workshop coming up March 22nd to the 24th. So it's a 3-day workshop, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern time, on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then I do love in-person ones too. 3-day workshop in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, April 5th to the 7th. So the first weekend in April, we'll be in gorgeous, warm Florida. And then in May, I'll be in North Carolina. May 3rd to the 5th, I'll be in Brevard, North Carolina. That's near Asheville. And then in Knoxville, Tennessee, at the end of May 23rd to the 25th. So I love to help people. This is my passion. I used to be a birth nurse. I was a birth nurse for 26 years, and I loved helping moms have babies, that whole bring in the spirit world to the physical world. Now I help people from the physical world go back up to the spirit world. So you get to birth your true essence and activate who you are, because like we are magical beings. Like you had talked about, how you're amazed at how fast the changes can happen and how the thought you used to have aren't even there anymore, because we are magical beings. We are spiritual beings. We are very powerful beings. And the more we wake up to that, and like you say, activate our self-worth, activate our unconditional love for ourselves instead of judging ourselves. These are the gifts, and even forgiveness. Forgiveness is a huge gateway to be able to forgive our own self and forgive others. That helps us to open our heart so we can live more from our heart center instead of always from our mind. We were taught to live from our minds, right? And it's time to be in our heart. And like you say, be in our bodies, be in our heart. What is our body telling us? What is our heart telling us? What is our gut telling us? Like, does this feel right? That's a better question to ask yourself before you do something.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
Can I add one more thing if I can? Because I didn't mention this, but I think it might be useful to people, and that we go live all the time on LinkedIn for my podcast. So it's actually fueled by people in their comments. And so, you can find it on all platforms. But I just want to say that if you're tired and your teams are tired, we're here for you. And, stop on in and bring your voice in. We'd love to have you. Like that, we go live in the community so people can participate in our podcast.
Oh, wow. So they'll call in and they'll,
They would chat. They chat and they bring it in. And it's really powerful, because I think the thing that you mentioned earlier in the very beginning of this was the generation before us was, I would call it command and control. Right. And we are in a different space now, and we're all about collective wisdom and voices being brought in. And that's how we run our podcast.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah, because every voice matters, right? And it brings in all the richness and all the beautifulness. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, thank
you.
What would be some last points you can give our audience as far as helping them heal or use the funk of humiliation and helplessness, and how they can help turn it into fun or their expansion?
I think the thing we've already said that was my journey is to stay in curiosity and get out of judgment, because I don't think you can be curious and judgy at the same time. I haven't been able to do both. That's one thing I haven't figured out how to do. But if you start to feel judgment on yourself or judgment of others about what's happening, my invitation for you is to pause and then figure out asking yourself a different question to allow yourself to stay in it so that you can connect into your truer knowing. I just feel like curiosity is a superpower.
Absolutely. And I would say, they can ask the question, what if positively? Just imagine if you can let the curiosity and the imagination come up. Exactly. And they say, well, what if I could change it? Well, what if I actually could get better? Wow. What would that be like? Could I really do that? That's going to bring energy, positive energy to them, and lift them out of that heaviness of helplessness or feeling humiliated or not good enough, or something's wrong with them. Dense energy, exactly, it literally does. And then also bring in the curiosity is what I'm going to tag on too. So the curious and the courage, the curiosity and the courage. So let you be curious by questioning positively, and then bring in
Mhm.
the courage. You know what? I'm willing to make the change. That's the other piece, is that self-responsibility. You actually have to go be in a new way. You actually have to go move in a new direction. And it's worth it, right? Because look at how well you're doing, and blossoming.
Yeah, it's
Heck,
definitely worth it. Yeah.
good.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
question that I love so much is how might I? So how
good.
might I move more? Or how might I take care? Or how might I ask for help?
Mhm.
That what you're saying, I just love so much on the positive side. So I just offer that. That came to me when we were talking. How might I is one that I really love too.
Exactly, exactly. And it's those key questions can change everything. So, oh, this has been such a joy. Again, oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
sharing.
Mary.
Yeah, you here with all of us. I
Yeah,
am
thank
Mary Mazur. This is Change Your Funk to Fun. Have a beautiful day. Oh.